Hello and welcome along to Clare FM's Sideline View Review. Derek Lynch with you this evening. Coming up on the show, we'll be looking back on Clare's double weekend showdown with Waterford in the Munster Senior Hurling and Camogie Championships. We'll look back on the weekend that was in local soccer, and we'll look ahead to this week's midweek under 20 action. Now, there's only one place we could start this evening on the show, which is reviewing Clare's victory over Waterford in the Munster Hurling Championship, 233 to 421. Certainly no shortage of scores, and as we read in the Examiner this morning from Christy O'Connor, a new points total in terms of the white flags for Clare in the Munster Championship, and overall indeed with that 33 total. I think it's the 4 on the other side we might be talking about as well in a while. Sil O'Connor and Tommy Guilfoyle called the action in Páirc Uí Chaoimh yesterday. They're with us on the line to look back on the game. Sil, what has been the discussion points that you've come across this morning from all those that you've met?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You know, I suppose when you start judging something like this, I always say go back to before the ball was thrown in and see where we were. And we didn't really know exactly where we were. I know we played Division 1B. A lot of talk about that in 2026. We played 7 games. We won 7 games, but we were still a little bit, I suppose, a little bit of a question mark over where we actually were. Yesterday, we found out a lot. And the puzzling thing, I suppose, about yesterday, as you said there in the introduction, we scored more points yesterday than any team in the round robin so far since the start of 6 or 7 years ago. It was a fantastic atmosphere and a great performance. And then we're asking the question, as Brian Lohan said, he's still pulling his hair out after yesterday. And that's really based on one thing and one thing only for me. And that's probably the concession of 4 goals and 21 points, which was a lot, which would have won a serious amount of games. It would have beaten both Cork and Tipperary yesterday. 421 would. So when you put all that together, I suppose that's the question. That's really the question. But you know, what you see depends a lot on what you look for. And I think it was a fantastic win yesterday. Any day of the week, we would have taken that victory. 2 points on the board, no matter whether we scored 33 points or 3. It was still 2 points on the board. That's what we have today, and something fantastic, I think, to build on.
Yeah, I was just looking back on the game last night, Tom, and some of the break down the goals, and I think there's elements in it that are kind of, in a lot of ways, maybe easily fixable, or ways that you can nearly explain them in a lot of things, because the first one came from the penalty, but when you go back to the origin of Billy Nolan's free, actually Mark Rogers was scutched across the hand. It should have been a free in for Clare. It wasn't. It went down the field and the penalty was given. The rebound for Bennett's goal in the first half was just a really, really strange one. His goal in the second half was excellent, but I suppose the tracking or the little switching off in the half back line then for the one from Sean Walsh is preventable as well. So it's not as if they're massive fixes at the same time.
Yeah, look, I think probably, you know, the players and the defence as a unit will be disappointed. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the aim is to minimise the mistakes or the presentation of easy opportunities. For me, you know, look at the 2 goals were nearly carbon copy of the 2 of the goals we conceded in the league final, where, you know, the ball broke or was around the square and we didn't you know, put our hand to it, we didn't deal with it, and were duly punished. And I think you know, for me, you know, the Bennett's one in the first half, I mean, he shot from outside the 21, but yes, you know, he was the first to react you know, in around the square after Aver had parried the ball. So again, maybe a switch off in concentration, or maybe, you know, not taking responsibilities for his 3rd goal. I think, you know, I would have expected, you know, Cathal Malone did what I would expect him to do. He batted the ball out from the dangerous area, but, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, it went straight to Bennett again and, you know, made no mistake. So they are fixable, you know, and I think the players themselves hold themselves to, you know, to high standards. But the bottom line, the concession of 4 goals plus probably the presentation of a couple of more chances, you know, is something that you know, they have to work on and eliminate, and definitely, you know, limit those chances, because every day you go out, you won't score 233, you know, to outscore what you're going to concede. So I think I agree with Sil. A win is a win. It's 2 points regardless of the score. Lots of positives, and no more than in any other performance, things to improve on. So, job done for round one.
Absolutely. And still, from a scoring perspective, 222 of Clare's total came from play. That's an incredible statistic.
It's a fantastic statistic, and this is the kind of a thing, there was one particular passage of play yesterday in the second half when Clare seemed to be coming under a bit of trouble, and there was some fantastic play there for 5, 6, 7 minutes, culminating in 1 or 2 scores, and that really put a big distance between Clare and Waterford. I think Clare were ahead at one stage, then within at half time they were 1 ahead, and at one stage in the second half they were 9 points ahead after a fantastic passage of play. But all the time, Waterford, in fairness to them, they kept plugging away, and the goals that they got gave them momentum, and then Clare had to start again, and they did start again on a couple of occasions as well. But with all due respects and all that, sometimes that'll work for you, but other times it won't, because trying to regenerate a bit of energy in the field can be tricky enough at times. It's called passages of play. But as I say, when the competition goes up a level or two, which it will over the next 3 games. But the only thing I was saying yesterday, I said it on there yesterday, and look, there's far, far more qualified people than me to say this, but I don't honestly think you could possibly train, no matter what way you train, right? I don't think you could prepare in training-wise, even though it would be tough training, but for the intensity, the mental and physical approach to a game that was there yesterday. I think everything was on the line yesterday. And as I said, you can train, physical train and all that kind of a thing. But when you're in the thick of it, when it's really, really on, which it was yesterday, I thought Clare's response was excellent. And that's the kind of a thing that I would be working on. And as I said, that game would bring you on as good, I'd say, as any number of training sessions as well. And that's what we have going in to the Limerick game, but that's for another day's work. But look, we did a lot of scoring all over the field. Just to tidy up a few things a small bit. In front of us yesterday, I think Jack Prendergast, midfield for Waterford, I think picked up 2 or 3 puckouts all on his own.
Yeah, and that space was something that was very evident, I suppose, up where we were. All right, it was just right there in front of the stand. Tommy, some of the other statistics that stand out from yesterday: Clare got away 46 shots, scored 35 of them. That's a 76% return rate. On the other side, Waterford got away 37, scored 25. That's 67. Great return from a Clare point of view, but I suppose we're going to, and we have spent a lot of time maybe talking about the front. The attack of both teams, right? But the performance of both goalkeepers yesterday, only for the 2 of them, we could have been looking at a game that broke all sorts of scoring records, because Eibhear Quilligan made some brilliant saves, most notably late on. That was so crucial. But like Billy Nolan's saves from both Mark Rogers and Shane O'Donnell in particular really stood out. The number ones, certainly, even though it's a game that produced 6 goals, they still did their job.
Yeah, look, I suppose we've been lamenting the lack of goals, or from a Clare point of view, creating goal chances. But I agree, the goalkeeping was top class, and not alone that, but their puck outs were exceptional as well. And credit to Billy Nolan as well as ever. For me, Derek, and I suppose maybe at the start of the league, I would have probably look for an improvement, here and there, and probably for in attack, their shot selection. I mean, to score 233, I think we had only 5 wides, I think, in the game. So I do believe that, that was a work on throughout the league, and that followed through into the championship yesterday. The emergence of the new players, into championship fair was another big plus. And again, I say this with tongue in cheek: is there a possibility that Shane O'Donnell and Tony Kelly will come on for the game tomorrow, or for yesterday? Because I mean, they've had very little hurling, but the measure of the men involved was that they were able to perform to the level that they were capable of, and I think that going forward, that injury free, that they would even more effective if that was possible. Again, the plus off the bench, Meehan with his goal, delighted for him. Tough day probably for him, but he took it in the positive manner. But Diarmuid Stritch, Sean Rinn really came of age yesterday, and then the rookie in the backs, Niall O'Farrell, was thrust into the hustle and the bustle of that Munster championship, and I thought he did exceptionally well for a guy making his championship debut. So putting it all together, there was far more positives, I think, than negatives. But that game is in the bank. I think it's now down recovery first and preparation then for the juggernaut that Limerick will bring into town in 2 weeks' time.
And Sil, just one note that I made in the programme here as well yesterday came in the 38th minute, and it was Adam Hogan's tackle on Sean Walsh. Now, if anybody has a chance to watch this back, and if you're a coach out there of your underage teams, I would suggest you screen record it, you clip it, and you show it every single session when you're doing any work on defending, because the timing to get the ball, the fact it was that close to goal, if anything had gone wrong, you were leaving a decision for a very, very iffy referee to make. And even watching not just his hurley hand, but his other hand, like lesser defenders would have put their hand on the back of Sean Walsh and allowed him the mobility to maybe fall to the ground. But Adam actually put his hand in front, that if the hurley was going to miss the slitter, there was a chance that the left hand was going to get to it as well. It was just a fantastic, fantastic example of defending.
I spoke about it last night to somebody who wasn't at the match. They were only listing up the country at it, and I said, you're going to see this, because this is one of the things that probably will stand out in a coaching world of don't panic. The players still. Everything is about the ball. And when Adam headed for that the other night, yeah, you're absolutely dead on. If you just imagine him coming in with the hurley in his right hand, so easy to put your left hand on the player's back. But it just was one of the highlights of the afternoon. And there's no doubt about that. I was talking to the great Val Donlan, made a comment after the game, not to me now, but to somebody else, but I heard it back, was that somebody was commenting, and Tommy will know this, that wasn't that a fantastic block by Adam Hogan to get the stick in just as he did? And as Val said at the time, I heard was that, look, he's doing that nearly since the day he was born. That's what he does. And that's the way he plays the game. Never panicked. He never panicked. With great respect to Ever, it would have been a miracle shot to save, but he didn't have to, because his clubman took it away from him. To answer your question, a top-class piece of defending, and as I said, it won't be the last time we'll see it.
Now, if people do want to see it, it's on social media, it's on Twitter. Follow Ray Boyne on Twitter. He's a fantastic man for coaching tips and stuff like that. He has it actually slowed down to real detail, so have a look at it there. That's where you'll find it. We'll move on, Tommy, in terms of the championship this week then, because Cork went to Thurles, went down to the home of the All-Ireland champions, and I suppose it was very, very contrasting games, wasn't it? This one, it felt like it never took off.
Yeah, no, again, I suppose I would have thought that, Tipperary were waiting in the high grass. They probably, their status as All-Ireland champions had been questioned. It was, Cork lost it rather than Tip won it. But yesterday, I just thought, they struggled in the first half, they stayed in the game. But in the second half, they just, try as they might, they just could not, they took off 5 of their starting 6 forwards. I think they made it easy for Cork, and Cork could only play with what was in front of them. I thought it was a real banana skin for Cork, but they've got over that. And for me, the highlight of the game, and again, I'm always delighted to see up and coming players. I mean, the performance of Barry Walsh and William Buckley, in that forward line for Cork, that much vaunted, and heralded forward line, was they gave an exhibition, and great credit to them, both young lads stepping into the cauldron of championship. But for Tip, now it's a big game down in Walsh Park, and we spoke about it yesterday. Not a place to be going feeling sorry for yourself. Anyone that saw Peter Queeley's interview after, he was badly hurting, and I'm sure all the Waterford players were feeling the same. But they have to dust themselves down, meet Tip coming down to Walsh Park next week, and then Cork have to park yesterday's result and prepare for the juggernaut of Limerick coming to town. So not a whole lot of time for feeling sorry for yourself. or resting on your laurels. But what a weekend of hurling we have again next weekend.
Yeah, and it feels like maybe still deja vu in a lot of ways, in the sense of the defending All-Ireland champions under pressure after the first round and facing a trip to Walsh Park. Like we've been down that road.
Absolutely. Well, in fairness to you, Derek, you asked the question on Friday to both Tommy and myself, and the question that's been asked all around prior to yesterday, it's been asked all over the province, was what three teams would come out. And I remember saying on Friday that I didn't think Cork would make it. Why? For the simple reason is I felt they were going to go to Thurles and they would be met absolutely head on by Tipperary as defending All-Ireland champions, and then they had to play Limerick. So what happened yesterday was they changed the whole reflection going forward, was that, as I keep saying it, and I've been saying it for the last God number of years, if you let Cork hurl, they'll be one of the best hurling teams in the country if you let them hurl. Limerick didn't let them hurl inside the league final. They were just on top of them. Whereas Tipperary yesterday gave them all the room of Simple Stadium. And if you get the room of Simple Stadium, you have a lot of room. And Cork maximised that yesterday. Very disappointed with Tipperary. They just seemed to be stuck in a half a cul-de-sac. Just couldn't get going at all. And again, if you give that to Cork, and that's a massive victory for Cork, I think that's a massive victory for Cork. They have Limerick and they have Clare in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and then they have to go to Walsh Park. So you can be sure another victory will set them into knockout stages. But impressive yesterday by Cork, but a real lacklustre performance by Tipperary. Next weekend, there's two teams up against each other next weekend, and I don't think you can afford to lose two games. I know that's happened along the way and then come out of it, but you're walking on tender hooks by losing two games and hoping to make the breakthrough. There's two teams, Tip and Waterford next Sunday, and they're going head to head, and the loser of that could be in big trouble as regards holding. There's two more games after that, but that could be the end of their year. And Cork and Limerick will take a life of its own. It'll be interesting to see what will happen in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but we know it's going to be a battle. But it's amazing, as I said, if you give them the room, they will. But Tipperary, as defending champions, as you said, and you were dead right, like ourselves in 2025.
Yeah, Tommy, defensively from a Cork point of view, that was the big question, wasn't it? 1-7, the same as the All-Ireland final. Had they developed, how would they cope? But given that the Tip attack was, toothless in the main, to be fair, I know Alan Tynan got the goal, but that was into injury time. Like, are they tested enough facing the Limerick front six now, or did they answer a couple of questions yesterday?
I think the jury is still out there, I think. From a Tipperary point of view, 5 of the 6 forwards were taken off. It looked like that they hadn't the ability, the Tip forwards hadn't the ability, to win their own ball, get on the ball, get into any sort of a flow. It was very stop-start. I think if you look at it, the 13 of their points came from frees, and as you said, Alan Tynan got that goal, that late goal, to put a better complexion on the scoreline. But Tip have dug themselves into a hole now, and we'll see where they come out of. I think Cahill was very reserved in his judgment yesterday, I said, but privately I'd say he would have been seeding. It just wasn't. It was very un-Tipperary like, and any team that Cahill, there was a lack of fight, there was a lack of drive, a lack of intensity, just a pure flatness. So, look, as I said, you have to dust yourself down and get ready for the battle that will be in Walsh Park next week and the battle that will be in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Absolutely, and of course a battle, lads, coming up as well in a couple of days' time down in FBD Simple Stadium again. Clare in Tip in the under-20, Tommy, and a Clare team that have points on the board, but at the same time it feels like have stuttered along at times, but still have dug out results, and another victory here could be a huge step towards a final appearance.
Yeah, look, it's great to have those points in the bag, and ultimately nearly guaranteed qualification for the semi-final. Look, we know the talent and the ability that is in that team, but for some reason they're just not putting it together over the 60 minutes. We've seen flashes of it. Now, they've been bedeviled by, injuries to key players. So hopefully, that injury list, will be improving. For me, I think the attack needs, to be a lot more decisive when they're on the ball. I think we're probably overplaying the ball or carrying the ball into contact, particularly against stronger teams. If we let the ball go into our forward, with the wide open spaces of Thurles, I think we have a chance. But if it comes down to a physical battle, particularly with our front six, I think we could struggle. And again, Tipperary at the other end have, real sharp shooters. The debut yesterday, it may not have worked out for him yesterday, Stefan Tobin, but, he's going to be a real handful for the Clare defence. So the points are on the board. I think lots of room for the performance to be improved. But then again, that's the beauty of this Munster Championship. You get game on game to improve. So I think Clare will be looking for a big improvement from a performance point of view.
But still, defensively, I think this Clare full back line have been exciting quite a lot of people. They're a brilliant unit. They've really have been held together back there. And I suppose Gunning in the corner as captain, leading in the way that he does, has been fantastic.
When we saw that young man from Waterford first day out, or first couple of days out, he was absolutely superb as a minor. And then we wondered, would he make the next step? And he certainly has. Absolutely brilliant from that point of view, which is a great plus. Then the other plus about this is, as I said, we've 2 games played, we've 2 games won. And we're heading to Thurles, you know what I mean? We have everything on the board except maybe maximising our performance. I think that's what we need to do. Talking to Terence Fahey after the game the last day, and that's the big thing now at the moment. Just getting everything to come together. I know injuries, they throw you off a little bit here and there, but you're coming to the stage now where a victory would be absolutely crucial. Number 1. Number 2, a performance that might take you again beyond that, which is something we'll be hoping for. We haven't seen the maximum performance from him yet, but we have seen the maximum wins from him, maximum points on the board so far. If we could go another level, they're really up again on Wednesday evening. But then again, it's their first game away in this competition, and it'll be just interesting to see how they adapt to that and the open spaces of Simple Stadium.
Yeah, Tommy, to follow up on those words that Sil finished his sentence there with the open spaces, it might suit this team a little bit better, but also the fact now that they're qualified for the knockout stages, you have a home semi or an away semi-final as we had last year at a minimum, and you can improve your lot then obviously in the last 2 games. Does that take a small bit of pressure off that you can go and have a lash at it?
I think it does, because the expectation is that you would win your home games and hope to get something on the road. So, yeah, I think that's job done. 4 points and 4 points. You can't argue with that. But I do believe that Terence Fahey and his management team, and indeed the players, know that there's more in there. And I think we as supporters know there's more in there. It's just, putting the moving parts together, get into a bit of, a rhythm and play to their strengths. I think, the big takeaway from the last day was when the chips were down, we got the last 3 or 4 points, down in 6 Mile Bridge. And I think that was a true reflection of the ability of the Clare team and their forward. So let's hope that, the shackles are off and they go. And as Sil said, it's all about performing first and getting the result after if it so deserves it.
Yeah, and hopefully another 2 points on the board. We will of course have commentary of that game from FBD Simple Stadium here on Clare FM this coming Wednesday night. After the game, we got to speak with a number of the Clare players and management as they reflected on the epic that had just passed over the last couple of hours. Now, delighted to cut up with Bonner Store, Brian Lohan. Brian, it has settled down a small bit here on the sideline again. What a game.
Yes, look, from an offensive perspective, we scored 2 goals in 33, which is a great return from us. So we're delighted with how the team played, delighted with the sharpness of the team, the work rate, and just the general honesty of the team, and wanting to work and wanting to get things done. So we're happy.
I think it's 222 from play, roughly, or thereabouts. That will win you a lot of games without trying to freeze into it. It's incredible scoring.
Yeah, look, we're used to having to go down the field and score wonder score after wonder score, and then look up at the other side and we see a free on the 21 and another free on the 21. It's very it can be very disappointing, but Look, we got on with it. We reacted in the right way, and we did some great scoring, and fair play to all our players.
I think that word reaction was key, because there was a lot of frustrating moments there, and we won't get into referees and all the rest of it, but the lads responded each and every time.
Yeah, absolutely. They really did, and really put in a great performance. Particularly when you have. When goals are scored, are they a 4-point goal, are they a 3-point goal, are they a 2-point goal? And next thing, puck out, Kelly gets it, it's over the bar. And it was from a goal with momentum against us. Kelly turns it around, and it's a 2-point score. So we did that time and time again. So it was great to get that kind of response.
Yeah, it seems very simplistic, but if the goals could be cut out, it would be a major positive.
Yeah. Look, there's certainly areas that we have to work on, and sure, we'll be trying to work on them. But you're up against good teams and good offences and good forward lines, so it can be hard to deal with them.
And a lot of the analysis coming into this game was obviously the step from one beat to championship, and when that final whistle went, it kind of felt like the players were saying that question's answered now.
Oh yeah. Well, look, we probably raised that more so than any media raised it, and it was a concern for us. Would we be able to get up to speed with the intensity? But we've loads of experience in dealing with Munster Championship games. We've a good record in Munster Championship games, and we were confident that we'd bring the performance, and then you'd hope then after that we'd get the result. So we were confident that we'd bring the performance, and we got the result.
And you can taper it down now for 2 weeks. Go to Leeside next Sunday, have a look at Limerick before they come here, and a lot of that analysis might be coloured by how that game goes.
Yeah, well, look, that's the nature of the game now. It's thick and fast. There's loads of analysis, loads of work done behind the scenes. We look forward to 2 weeks' time here in Ennis again, and obviously Limerick coming here is it's a massive game for us, massive game for Limerick, and it'll be something to look forward to.
And Adam, I suppose the only injury concern, have you any update on him at the moment?
No, he's Adam be okay. Well, we'll be hoping that Adam be okay. I think he got a belt. Belts are never too bad. Yeah.
Delighted to have Dermot Ryan with us here just after an epic Munster Championship game. A difficult watch from the stands for everybody. Dermot, hearts and mouth stuff. What was it like on the field?
Yeah, look, it was everything you'd want the Munster Championship game to be. Got ourselves ahead. They pulled it back, ourselves ahead. Won it, lost it kind of a thing. But we're very happy kind of with the response. Every time they got a goal, we seemed to get the next score or two, especially in the first half. They got a couple of goals, and we responded very well. Obviously, not happy with letting in 4-21. Is a big score to concede, but look, you just have to credit the players, and I think just how we dug it out, because that's just what the Munster Championship is going to come down to. And that goal at the end could be the most important goal for us. Galvin going through could have taken a point, gave it to me and buried it, and that could be a big thing for us coming down the championship. So we're delighted with that.
When you look at that scoreboard and you see 233, you're saying, geez, that should win you most games comfortable.
Yeah, it wouldn't, that's just, I suppose, where the goals again, it's just something we have to look at. But look, the boys inside, we don't make it easier for them with the amount of space that we give them sometimes. So, look, everyone just put their foot to the wheel the last 10 minutes and just got over the line, and it's a huge result that we look forward to now 2 weeks' time coming back here.
And that character huge, because it was a similar finish the last time Waterford came here, and it took Mark's disputed 64-metre free to settle it, but we put it to bed a little bit better than that this time.
Yeah, absolutely, and look, we knew we didn't want to leave anything to chance. This year we just want to go out, do our job, get a performance and get a result. But yeah, like I said, I think we make it tough on the supporters at times, but no, it's just a great day.
Yeah, but for momentum, another victory.
Yeah, exactly. We just keep winning. I think Roddy said it was a 7 from 7 after a league final. So yeah, maybe people are asking, will we be ready for the championship? And look, we showed it being down in 1B. We were more than ready to come today. But again, another test in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be up another level again.
Was that a big thing, getting up to speed of championship?
Yeah, look, I think a couple of weeks ago, I know it was a league final, and like nothing beats championship. No matter how many league games or challenge matches you play, nothing will beat coming in here to a packed out Cusack Park. And sometimes tactics just need to go out the window, and you just need to put your hand up. And we had loads of leaders all over the field there to get their hand on the ball. Dermot Stritch coming in, scoring 3 points. Like there's no age limit on leaders. It's anyone can just put their hand up, and thankfully everyone did. And Shane starts instead of Shane Meehan. Gets 4 points from play, then Shane Meehan comes on and sticks the goal. So everybody, when they're interchanged, they're contributing. Yeah, look, it shows huge character in the group. There's huge squad depth as well. Like Galvin coming, the last 2 subs set up a huge score. You're, as I said already, like putting that goal, giving it to me, and for him to bury it. And I think we actually could have probably got 2 or 3 more goals as well, other than the goalie. The goalie was pulled off some unbelievable saves, but just look, happy to get it. As you said, the character is building now and momentum is building, hopefully it sticks with us.
And no doubt after a championship game, bodies are always tired and sore, but you have a fortnight now and Limerick will have to go to Cork in a week's time and then come here, so it's set up nicely.
Yeah, it is. I suppose you have a weekend. We can probably sit back and watch next week and see how that goes, but yeah, it's nice to have the 2 weeks, get the bodies right, because that to go again in 6 or 7 days time. We'll have to do it after the Limerick game, but it's nice just to have the break after today.
Delighted to have Cathal Malone here. Cathal, you're sporting the effects, I suppose, of a very, very intense championship game, but what a victory.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Good, hard, tough championship games, and lovely weather as well. It's what you look forward to, and it was just great to get the 2 points now. And during the last few years, we probably hadn't had the best opening matches, and I know 2 points doesn't get you out of the group, but it's a good start. And it's on to 2 weeks now time against Limerick.
And not just the 2 points, but it feels massive for momentum as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. You want, no matter what game it is, you always want to do your best and win, and that's what it's about. And like everyone, you saw, like the players that have been used in the league, like lads were coming in and nearly all the subs are used and they all made massive impacts as well, and that's what it's about. And yeah, because we had to work to the 74th, 75th minute and we needed everyone, and it's just great to get over the line.
Did it feel like a big step up in intensity from the league?
No matter what, its championship is always up a level. Especially because of better conditions, faster ground, nicer weather, and players are more up for it as well. And so it's always a step up, and we knew what was coming today. We know Waterford, incredible. Every team in Munster is really good, and you just have to be at your best. And we have to recover now and go again.
And midway through that second half, I think we opened up maybe an 8-point lead or thereabouts, but the way Waterford came back and the way Clare responded showed savage heart.
Yeah, there's so little between teams. It's just about, like, teams get purple patches in games and you just have to step back, you have to go again, and this is a resilient bunch and we just have to keep going again, and I'm not sure what else to say, to be honest, but it's good to get the win.
It does seem like a squad though that maybe your A versus B games must be almost as intense as championship, because we're seeing the squad depth building out, probably to the strongest we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, everyone's pushing hard and everyone wants to play, but yet everyone pushes each other and everyone drives each other, and there's such a good group there, and from 1 to 38, and that's what it's about, and everyone's pushing, and that's how we just have to go again now the next day, and everyone's going to push a train again for the next 2 weeks.
And 2 more weeks, and what a positive atmosphere will be carried back into training now this week.
Yeah, it's I look forward to training again, but in fairness to supporters, as always, especially the last few years, have been incredible, and the place today, the atmosphere was excellent. And hopefully we'll be here again now in 2 weeks' time, and place in Cusa Park.
It will be needed. That's a key fixture, isn't it?
Yeah, they're an incredible team, and we could see it in the league final, and we just have to be at our best.
Brendan Bugler is here in a packed Cusa Park. Brendan, sun is shining, 2 points on the board. Life is good.
Absolutely, Derek. Yeah, sure. Look, we came down here we came over here, I should say, looking for the 2 points. It's just we didn't, really care what way we got the 2 points, but yeah, to get a win, you have to win your home games really. Otherwise, you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure heading away from home. So it was we were targeting this game, a long time ago. We've been targeting it a long time, and I suppose there was question marks there about how would we perform considering we're in 1B this year against a 1A team, and to score 223 against them or 233 against them is really pleasing. But look, there's loads of areas to improve on as well. We have to tighten up a bit at the back there and not be conceding 4 goals, because usually when you concede 4 goals you don't win matches.
Does it make it a difficult game to analyse, like having scored 233 but still needed the late goal to seal it?
Yeah, look at we Waterford 2 years ago here as well, I went down to the last puck of the game, and when they have their full strength, and they were missing a few really good players there today as well, but they're a really good side, and we knew that, and we had a lot of work done on them, but look at the fact that it went down to the last minute or two, we kind of predicted it would, even though we were comfortable for large periods in the game, going 7, 8, 9 points up. Probably should have finished the game a little bit better and not have it go down to nearly the last puck of the game, but credit to Avery, he pulled off a great save as well there right at the very end, when that would have pulled him back level, I think. So just thrilled, great day for Clare. Great look at the crowd here today and the sunshine. It was real championship feel about it, the league is over, and it hasn't really felt it there all year considering the way the weather has been, but a real championship summer feel about today.
And we're biased in saying this, obviously, but it does feel like the better team won, because it seemed like a lot of frees were keeping them in the game. They got the goals, obviously, but like Stephen Bennett had a field, I think he got 3-12 or something like that.
Was that it? Yeah. We could have to look back over them and see a lot of them were they actually legitimate frees or were they kind of soft frees. I don't really know yet. But no, definitely it's a thing that we have to look at now in the next couple of weeks, because Limerick have a very good free taker in Aaron Gillan as well. So and Diarmuid Burns from distance. So we have to work on the free count.
But from a Clare perspective now, another win on the board for momentum, for confidence and all that. Wasn't it so crucial to see it out?
Massive. You have to win in this game. Like it was a non-negotiable as far as we were concerned. And we've our own little goals set among ourselves in our own group this year that we will be keeping to ourselves. And it's important that we reach those goals and reach those standards. And look at the standard of hurling there today, and the skill level out there, and the shooting, the shot selection, even how we were performing on puckouts for large periods of the game. We were doing really, really well. And let's be honest, it was goals that was keeping them in the game, for a long, long time. But we're really thrilled with the performance.
We know about the big names and the big stars, but I think like Niall O'Farrell today at 6, brilliant. Sean Rinn with 4 points, and Diarmuid's cameo off the bench, it's really fleshing out, isn't it?
Well, look at those, the lads that have been playing really, really well all season, in the league in 1B, and so we were asked, we're kind of expecting them to perform. It's a great thing when you're kind of, when you're naming a team. It's hard to get into this team, and you can see in the bench that we had today, the lads, the likes of, Dave Fitzgerald and John Conlon, who've been stalwarts, I suppose, the last number of years, and for them just to sit it out today and hand over the baton for today's match, and the lads performed really, really well. I thought they were terrific.
No doubt very shortly you'll be going somewhere to watch Tip and Cork, and then next week Limerick and Cork down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and we all come back here again in 2 weeks' time for what should be an epic occasion.
Yeah, look, it's they're becoming thick and fast, and it's no harm to get a week off too, and as you say, go down to Cork next week, have a look at Limerick. But we'll join today and we'll join tonight for what this is. It's a great victory against Waterford. It's 2 points on the board, and we'll just move on from here.
That is the views from a number of the Clare camp there on the pitch in Zimmerby at Páirc Uí Chaoimh after that victory over Waterford in the Munster Senior Hurling Championship. It was a tough afternoon on Saturday for Clare's camogie side as they lost out to Waterford by a single point after extra time in their Munster Senior Camogie quarter-final. A last gasp point for the Dacia saw them over the line after a thrilling game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, with Aisling Cooney's dramatic late goal looking to have sent the tie to penalties. After the game, I spoke with Clare manager Eugene Foodie and fullback Sinead O'Keefe.
We said at the start of the game that we're going to give it a right good cut. Winning the 1B last week was obviously our target, but then we said, look, these are the teams we want to be playing week in, week out from next year on, right? And we said we'd have a right good cut of it and we'd go for it. And I think we matched them toe to toe there in next time. I know those tired bodies, tired minds and all that, but you really have to put the credit to the girls, right? And it's a credit to the coaching staff, right, as well. The strength and conditioning they've done, the training they've done, the physicality to be able to match that for 80 minutes there, and a mighty performance.
And I suppose significant disappointment as well. 10 points between you and Croke Park, and damn near and should have gone to penalties today.
Yeah, look at. We kind of said it at the start of the season. We knew we were playing Waterford in the championship, so it was our kind of aim and goal to judge ourselves on where we'd be, depending on how the league went, right? And see had we bridged that gap. And I think, in fairness, the girls have bridged it, winning the league last Sunday, and then turning around the 10-point margin against Waterford. 10 months later.
And as significant to turn a 3-point deficit around at half time of extra time, playing into the wind, none of that is easy.
No, but the way we play and the body's working back with or against the breeze, it's kind of much and muches. But let me look at the credit those bunch of girls what they did out there and the way they fought and gave it their all. That's a pleasing moment, and it's just us saying to them, we can walk out here heads held high, right, and we can face the championship with real ambition and real desire now and push forward. And
in terms of development, they look like a team that are just now so comfortable with what they are doing.
Yeah, well, that's our first defeat of the year. Today, in challenge matches and league matches and all that, and so I mean that's great credit to the girls. And we used the bench, we subs, didn't get everybody on, but I mean I'm delighted for the girls, and it just proves that when you put in the work, you will get the rewards.
And now Todd's turned to that All-Ireland series where it's another 1B with Kilkenny, I suppose, and you're 1B champions, so there must be a lot of optimism.
Yeah, look at we're taking a little break now after tomorrow. We've 33s up and down tomorrow. We'll take a break after that for a week, and then we'll come back and focus the minds again and put in a good shift for the championship.
Sinead O'Keefe, what a performance, what a game here in Páirc Uí Sóig, some display.
Oh, a big battle, yeah. It's disappointing to come out with that result, I suppose, but I think the biggest thing we were saying there is that we can compete against those top teams, and I think that really shows there. We want to be at that stage and we want to be at that level, so winning last week, it brings us to that stage next year, but we want to push on now this year and really push for that championship spot.
Going in level at half time with the breeze to come, you must have been very, very happy with that.
I suppose that's kind of our game plan to, we want to set up like that, and the girls are doing a great job to lose the toss or win the toss, I don't know, but I suppose last week we had that same kind of setup, the wind in the second half, and knew what we could do with it, so yeah, I guess we know our kind of setup and we're working on it a lot, so it kind of showed in that second half. We believed in the girls inside there. And
not easy to go to the well after such a battle 6 days ago.
Yeah, I think if you looked at any of us when that final whistle went, our eyes went to heaven to say help. We were kind of out on our feet, but we've done some serious condition over the last few weeks. I think Dara, our S&C coach, loves to torture us, so I think that's been shown there that it actually stands to us, but don't tell him that.
And then to go 3 down at half time of extra time playing into the wind and still for take the last puck of the game to level it, like, you must take some character from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, look at Ash Cooney there, she works hard every session, and it's for those days where she gets to come in and make that impact, and I think that's the big thing we also said there about our subs coming in. Other years we may have been looking to the bench for some of that impact, but this year players coming in and out all the time, and no matter who it is. From last week we had Maeve come in, and this week we had Aoife come in after injuries early on and had impact on the game, so it's great that we have that, and we want to keep driving that forward now.
Yeah, it feels like there's real momentum now with the All-Ireland series on the horizon.
Yeah, there is, absolutely, and we want to be competing against the top teams. I think the setup for the championship this year isn't in our favour in that we want to play against those top 4, top 6 teams. So we need to top that group now in terms of our championship draw and push on and be back to playing Waterford now in a few weeks, hopefully.
That is Clare's Sinead O'Keefe there after their loss to Waterford. And up next is a Munster Championship opener. That game against Dublin is in just around a month's time or thereabouts. Now, Clare's under-20 footballers will round off their Phase 2 series and hope for a historic result in Tralee, and that's what will be needed in order to see them progress to the Munster under-20 football final as they go to Austin Stack Park on Wednesday evening. Paddy Carmody with us to look ahead to that, and I suppose look back as well on a very, very contrasting week, Paddy, both in results and performances. Brilliant draw against Cork, very unlucky not to win the game, and then against Waterford just did not seem to have that bit of puff in the last 7 or 8 minutes to see it out.
Yeah, it definitely has been 2 real kicks into the stomach, the last 2 results. Like, we did absolutely everything but beat Cork that night in Quilty. They played really, really well. Probably ran out of gas. You could see our full forward line, even though, in the last 5 minutes of the game, it was all clear. It was down to us to get the score. We were getting possessions, but the lads that were getting shots off throughout the game, they just didn't have the energy to shake off the Cork defenders, and we couldn't work a score or a decent shooting opportunity to take the win that I thought we deserved. And then, last week then with the Waterford game, like, that's a real kick in the teeth. Like, probably a bit of complacency. Being up by so much at half time, not seeing it out. Our defence didn't look anywhere like what it looked like before. So, and compound that then with Cork's win over Kerry down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, like, it really, everything that could go wrong has kind of got wrong to this stage. And you'd hope the players aren't thinking like that, or they're not thinking that this is the worst case scenario, that they're going down to play Kerry with a positive attitude, because it's essentially the way the results have played out now. It's 2 semi-finals. The winner of both these games, will meet in the final. You'd have to think it will be Cork and Kerry as strong favourites. But if we go down there feeling sorry for ourselves, we're going to get eaten alive, which is won't be nice for anybody. But we've gone down there before, and we've had good cuts at Kerry at this under-20. Albeit with the safety net, knowing that there was other group games afterwards. But this is straight knockout. Kerry will be absolutely reeling from the defeat to Cork. So it's a lot has happened in the space of 10 days for this under-20 championship, and it really, really needs a big one for us to get a result down there this week.
But in a lot of ways then, maybe for trying to turn that into a positive, is it a case of looking at it and saying, well, we can have tunnel vision focus here now, go and have one right good cut at it. If it works out, brilliant. If not, at least, we tried.
Yeah, you have to. There's no point in going down and trying to contain. If you're going to lose by, let's say, 6 or 7 or 8 points, what about it if you go for it and lose by 13 or 14? Kind of way. We have no choice but to go for it. Sitting back and trying to be passive, and I don't think we will. Maybe we will be initially to try and make sure we settle into the game. We obviously can't go down and be stupid, but the intention has to be to be in touch and have a go, have a crack at it. And looking at the individuals in our lineup, they're not short of confidence. If Sean Fennell, if he gets on the scoreboard early, he could do anything. He could kick 2-pointers for fun down there. Type of fella that might enjoy that kind of a challenge and atmosphere down there in Kerry. You'd be hoping for a big game as well out of his midfield partner Evan Cahill, who said Derek Culligan as well. It'd be a good test for these boys. This is their second year of the under-20 campaign. They've had a lot of games now at under-20 level. So let's see how much of the two campaigns, let's see what they can produce against, they probably are one of the best teams in the country, to be fair, the Kerry team. I don't know if you read many reports into their game against Cork, but it seems, that they were very, very unlucky that they didn't beat Cork. I think they had so many wides over the course of the hour. They put up a 227 against Waterford in the first game. So in case anybody's under any illusions as to how good this Kerry team are, they got caught last week, and they're a fine team.
And I suppose the danger is they're back now in front of their home supporters as well, maybe with a few questions being asked of them, I've no doubt, in Kingdom Country this week. So Clare will have to be braced for a real animal to emerge from those dressing rooms.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned the animals. That's what they'll be referred to. The Kerry supporters. I'm sure the behind the scenes football people of the Kerry County Board will be expecting Kerry to come out and put us to the sword. That they won't accept anything else. They've got the All Ireland in their target. So they're going to be they have a fantastic bunch of players. As I said, it really was a shock last week that they fell to Cork. There was only 3 points at half time, a very, very low scoring game. Cork blocked them out, and they did their best to disrupt everything possible. So in their home patch, and even the weather is picking up compared to the wet conditions of last week, and a good crowd behind them. They're going to be fully expecting to come out of this with a win and get their revenge on Cork in the final.
It just shows, though, the mad nature of championship, that we're a small little bit downbeat about the fact that it took 5 games in this championship for Clare to finally lose. They won their 3 Phase 1 games, drew with Cork, and then that late flurry for Waterford. So I suppose in an overall sense, and there was a real sense of disappointment in Kilmehel after the game last week, but at the same time there has been plenty positives for Dermot and the players and the management to take from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's no different to the under-17s. They're getting six good hard games. Our easiest game, which potentially wasn't that easy, the first half was really down in Amy Bryan when we played Waterford in the under-20 initially. I know we won by, I think, 11 or 12 points that day, but at half time when we had played with the wind, we were very nervous, and we played very good football in the second half. So it's been great for the team. The only little kind of area that I would look at is that whether it's players or trust in players, we didn't seem to go to our bench too often, and definitely not early in games. I can't recall in many of the games more than 1 or 2 subs coming on, and it was ultimately late in the game when it happened. So while the 15 or 16 or so that were starting all these games, they've definitely gelled together. I think defensively, I know it fell apart a little bit in the second half the last day, but I think defensively we've been really, really solid all the way through the campaign, which is real testament to the management and to the players under them as well. So you'd hope that, as I said, potentially you'd have hoped that there might have been 2022 players that would be coming in and not making the team any weaker, if that makes sense, that we'd have a big deep bench to go to, because when we're down in Kerry this week, we're going to need more than 16, 17 players putting in a shift to try and get a result down there, the pace and intensity those boys are going to bring. So that'd be my area of concern. But I think regardless of what happens down there, I think it's been a positive campaign. And I really hope that, the defensive qualities that I spoke about there, that they really, really do come to the fore the next day, and that we put up a good rear guard wall against this Kerry outfit.
And of course it's the start of a very familiar trend this week with Clare and Kerry, but we'll talk more about that Munster senior semi-final as the week progresses on. Paddy, thanks for that.
No worries, Derek.
More to come, do stay tuned. Now we switch our focus to local soccer here on Sideline View Review, where we had some big games over the weekend. There was FAI Junior Cup action. There was two of the Clare Cup, the Enniscarpet Clare Cup quarter-finals as well. And of course this evening we'll have the draw for those semi-finals. We'll keep you posted on that if we get them to hand. But Jim Madden with us to look ahead to what's coming up midweek, Jim. But first of all, as we say, reflect on the weekend. Couple of significant results.
Yes, indeed. And we start with Saturday, Derek, because Newmarket Celtic B and Moher Celtic played a 4-4 draw, which was great for the crowd that was there. And then after the game, the First Division trophy was presented to the captain of Newmarket by David O'Grady. It was the third time in a row they have won that First Division, and to be honest with you, if there was a betting market on it, you'd nearly be inclined to say they'll do it for a fourth time as well, because they show no signs of letting up. But it was great to see them, and a nice evening like Saturday evening, and to get the cup presented to them by one of their own, David O'Grady. In the second division, also on Saturday, Avenue B beat Corofin by 3-0. And then on Sunday, we had that big FAI Junior Cup game where he fixed the third round, and Tulla saw off the challenger Ferron Celtic by 4-1. There is no doubt that Tulla are a serious side. They're having a seriously good season, and they'll be very keen to advance to a further round or two in that FAI. In the Enniscarpet's Clare quarterfinals, as you said, there was two quarterfinals played. Shannon Hibbs played Newmarket Celtic. Newmarket won that by 6-2. There's no doubt that Newmarket do not get spooked by any of these lower division sides, and while Shannon Hibbs will probably be promoted, they got a lesson yesterday that there is a big gap between the First Division and the Premier. Then at the other quarter final, Bridge United beat Ennisdons by 3-0. Now I do notice that the Bridge made a few changes in that game, and brought in a few new players, particularly in goal as well. But the Bridge will be looking to get their season back on track as well, and they will be quite happy to be in the semi-final draw tonight. In the Premier League, then you had Fair Green were beaten 5-0 by Avenue United. Now, Avenue now are in second spot, 2 points behind Newmarket, and I think they have the same number of games played. So Avenue quite happy with that, but they do feel, I think, that somebody has to beat Newmarket if Avenue have any chance of taking the title. In the First Division, then Manus Celtic, who are at the bottom of that First Division, were beaten 4-0 by Connolly Celtic, and there is no doubt that Manus will be relegated to the Second Division. In the Second Division itself, then, Cool FC beat Ryan Rovers by 3-1. And then in the Women's Shield semi-final, a big win for Bridge United, where they beat Ennisdons by 1-0, Derek.
Very good. So as we say, we should get the final four in that Enniscarpet's Clare Cup. So we'll bring that to people as soon as we have it. Big results, as we say, in the Premier League there, particularly with the Avenue United one. And I suppose we look at the midweek fixtures then, Jim, and there is a situation here where Avenue could maybe overtake the market at the top, but it will be a game in hand scenario. 3 big matches here on Wednesday evening. We'll start in Lynch Park, Shannon Town versus Tulla United, who are also still in that title race. So it could be a significant evening.
It could indeed, and Tulla will be quite keen to widen the gap They're in fourth place at the moment, if I remember rightly, but they're a long way ahead of Shannon Town, who are in fifth by about 14 or 15 points. And Tulla will be quite happy to show that they are a top four side and take the 3 points there. Shannon Town really haven't anything to really play for, so I think Tulla should win that. Meanwhile, then down in Kilrush, Avenue United are travelling down there for a 6:45 kick-off. If the weather stays the way it is, and Avenue will feel, yes, that they can get the 3 points there and maybe move a point ahead of Newmarket, but they will have a game more played. There's still a lot to play for in that top division of the Premier League. And then the third game is Enniston's versus Fair Green, I think. And you'd have to imagine that there's nothing really at stake there either.
Yeah, so all those 3 games down for 6:45 starts. And I suppose it is getting, Jim, to that crunch time of the season now, as we say, is semi-finals of the Cup and last couple of games of the Premier Division season. So it's all just starting to heat up, which is the time I suppose everybody looks forward to.
They do indeed, and thankfully the weather seems to be improving and the pitches will be in good shape. And basically, yes, we should have some very, very good games to look forward to. The Clare League have also published the relegation and promotion things from the Premier and the First, and basically it's a matter of whoever finished second in the First Division, which looks to me to be Moher, will be promoted, and then the third team there looks to be Shannon Hibbs to be promoted, with Lifford being relegated, and Kilrush, if they finish third, just above, which they will, being involved in a playoff with Fern Celtic. I'm not too sure, am I terribly in favour of whether Shannon Hibbs, who finished so far behind Newmarket B, and I'm told all right that Moher can be quite strong, and but are Shannon Hibbs and Fern Celtic capable of holding their own in the Premier League? I have my doubts, particularly with the top 4 that's there at the moment.
Yeah, there is a big gap, but I suppose outside of the front 4, we'll call them, is there much else between the teams that are below them?
No, there isn't a lot between them. There is about a 15-point gap between the 4th and the 5th, which is Shannon Town, as we said. And I think that means really that the Premier Division is divided into 2 blocks. 4 and, well, there'll be 6 then with the 10, because there's only 9 this year. It's hard to know how to organise it to make it a bit more competitive, or how to encourage the teams in the bottom half of the table, for want of a better word, to improve their efforts and make themselves more competitive. Because if it's dominated by 4 clubs, which we're delighted to have, and it means we have very competitive matches, it would be nice to see the gap not being so wide.
Yep, that's a debate for further down the road, but for now we look forward to those midweek games and that those Cup semi-finals as well. For now, Jim, thanks for that.
Thanks, Derek, and I look forward to talking to you later in the week. Good luck.
And that is where we have to leave it for this week's Sideline View review. Now, there will be an extended podcast version of this show going live on the Clare FM website from 7 o'clock. That'll have all the post-match reaction from Clare's win over Waterford, so you can log on there to check out interviews from Brian Lohan, Diarmuid Ryan and Cathal Malone as well. The West Wind is up next here on Clare FM. Have a great Monday evening.